morning, guys. My name's Francois. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I guess just got to share my truth today. Coming into the rooms and coming into sobriety, it hasn't been an easy journey for me. An alcoholic of my type, I needed to go into treatment. I needed a 12-step program, and I needed to find a higher power. Through all my years of addiction and alcoholism and drinking and using, there have been periods of times where I've tried to stop on my own, and it just never ever worked for me. I needed treatment, I needed to be grilled, I needed to be drilled, I needed to change everything about me, because the person who I was inside was never strong enough to overcome my alcoholism on my own. And I was very blessed to go into a 12-step treatment facility up on the hill. And in doing so, it was the first time I ever found out about AA or NA or anything like that. So it was completely new for me. And I suppose I was just very blessed that my folks had the money to provide all those sort of stuff. I was given a lot of grace. In the big book it says grace is an undeserved gift, because the person who I'd become towards the end of my addiction and my alcoholism didn't deserve anything. So I was very, very, very grateful that I was able to go to a treatment facility where they did have the 12-step program, and I'm able today to sit here and share my 1 year, because the person who I couldn't stay sober for 12 hours, let alone freaking 1 day or 2 days, Here I'm sitting a year. So this morning, on my way here, a 45-minute drive to get here, very, very stressed and very self-obsessed, but also at the same time extremely grateful. I paid a lot of money and I did a lot of crap to get to be able to sit in the seat today. I suppose I better start at the beginning. I grew up in a pretty normal household, except I can't actually say I didn't actually grow up in a normal household. My father was an alcoholic, and he used to beat my mom, used to beat me when I was younger, and it sort of forced my mom to flee. And I was about 3 years old at this age. And mom took myself and her, and she fled. And we started a life for ourselves, or she started a life for us in a little cottage, and she started to provide for me. Shortly after that, my stepdad came into my life. And he was a wealthy guy, very loving, caring guy, and I got brought up with pretty much everything that I needed. There wasn't a day that I could go by and say shit, but I could never get that. So everything that I needed was provided for me. Everything that I wanted pretty much was provided for me. And life was good. I had no problems growing up, really. I really think my problems started when I was about 10 or 11. I started playing golf, took that up very quickly, and I soon became quite a good little golfer. Again, everything was given to me. Money was thrown at it, time was thrown at it by my parents, everything. I just had a life of ease. I never had problems at school. I never had problems fitting in, really. That was pretty much it. I think I was about 12 or so when these little alcoholic defects started to come out. I became a frequent liar. I would always lie, even if I didn't need to lie. I remember there was an instance where I'd steal money out of my dad's. My dad had a little jar of 2 rands that he used to keep for squash, and I'd steal 2 rands every day to go buy a tuck. 2 rand 15 years ago went a long way, and my dad started noticing this, and he started questioning, who's taking the 2 rands? And I'd say, no, it's not me. My mom would say she doesn't need 2 rand. And so the first thing that would happen was our domestic worker. So my dad said, are you sure, Francois, it's not you? And I'd be like, no, Dad, I don't steal money. Why would I steal money? I've got everything I freaking need. True as Bob, my dad said to me, don't touch the money, I'm going to see if the mate's stealing money. Fucking hell. Next day, on my way to school, 1 tuck money, true as Bob, take that little 2 rand. And that ended up costing our domestic worker her job, because, you know, it wasn't me stealing the money, it was obviously the maid. So from a very young age, that's my lying, you know, all my little defects started coming out. So I could manipulate my parents to get whatever I want, pretty much. And it actually got so bad to a point that I'd actually get caught out for lying, and I'd carry on lying. And my parents would think I'm insane because they've just caught me lying, and I carry on lying. So I think from a very young age, it was bound that I'd become an alcoholic and an addict and all that sort of stuff. Moving along in my life, you know, I got a bit older, started being introduced to alcohol at about 14, 15. I remember going to one of my mates' house, and we drink at his place because his grandparents, he was living with his grandparents, and they were quite old, and they went to bed early, and we would sit up all night and, you know, drink a bottle of vodka between the two of us, and that was fun for me, you know. So that would go on for weekend after weekend after weekend. And obviously, being at that age, never thought that there was a problem or anything like that. Ended up getting a girlfriend. You know, this was my be-all and end-all. I was like bewildered by having a female in my life. You know, I think a lot of people can relate with that, especially at a young age. You know, that feeling of being loved and being accepted, and feeling of being loved and accepted. I think that's what I was going at. You know, always wanted to. I died for affirmation. I died for feeling good. You know, I could never feel good with what I was doing. You know, I was playing great golf at this stage in my life. I was about 16, 17, and I was able to turn pro if I wanted to, pretty much. But obviously I was still in school, so my dad wouldn't allow that. But everything I did for myself was never good enough to make me feel good. You know, I always needed something else to make me feel better about myself. And I don't actually know why. I can't say that there was any reason at this time that I couldn't feel good about myself, you know. I can't say why I used to lie. I can't say why I used to cheat. I can't say anything like that because I don't know where I was at that point in time that I needed something outside of myself to make me happy, but I did. But when I went into high school, at the same time, 16, 17, 18, I mean, that's when my drinking really, really progressed. I would lie to my folks about where I was. I'd say I'm sleeping over at my girlfriend's house. Oh, and by the way, I mean, I had motorbikes since I was young. My parents would buy me motorbikes. I'd write one off and buy me another one. You know, I just had complete disregard for anything or anyone, you know. And I expected everything that I got. You know, I expected to have a new car. I expected to have a motorbike. I expected to have money to go out on the weekends. But I didn't work for shit. I didn't do anything that was deserved. You know, I never worked for my money. I never did anything like that. I did work for my money eventually, but it would all be spent on selfish things, you know, on me, whatever made me feel good. And I started drinking hectically every single weekend. Friday to Sunday, I would drink on weekends, and I'd say to my folks that I'm staying over at my girlfriend's house. It means I'd go to the jaw, and obviously my girlfriend wouldn't even be any part of that. And I'd go out jawling, and I'd literally park my bike around the corner from the nightclub, and I'd walk down to the beach, and I'd go sleep on the beach all night. And then I'd wake up in the morning at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and the beach is flooded with people, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is actually going on here? You know, didn't even know where I was. So, I mean, from a very early age, I could never control my drinking. It was never about going out and having 2 beers. It was about going out and getting as pissed as I could and not remembering anything that happened the night before. And that continued for quite some time. I mean, and even when I had my girlfriend, I cheated on her so many times. And I mean, we were in a relationship from when I was 15 to 20, so 5 years, you know. Even after school, we were still together. And I just became apparent that I didn't care about anyone besides myself, you know, whatever made me feel good. My marks, funny enough, I was quite a bright child. I didn't have to study hard, or I didn't have to, you know, things just came easy for me in life. You know, I was one of those laid back people who didn't have to work hard or anything, because mommy and daddy would always sort me out, and that's how I lived life. You know, that was my norm for me. And I can't really say that it was wrong of my parents, because I mean they they were sitting there giving their child whatever they could, you know, because they loved me. The fact that I never loved them back in that way was wrong from my side, you know. Anyway, after school, I was able to go to varsity, and my parents again said to me, listen, which varsity do you want to go to? You can go anywhere you want. Got a brand new car, everything, you know. My parents paid for my varsity. I got an allowance of 5,500 Rand a month. My accommodation was paid for. I got food money. I think it was an extra 3,000 Rand a month that I got given. Everything was just given to me, and I just expected, and I just didn't give a shit about them, you know. Even with that, I would lie and I would manipulate my folks to send me more money and stuff like that. Went to varsity. Didn't jaw too much. I went out drinking and stuff like that, but I didn't really have friends when I went there, because I sort of studied 2 degrees at the same time, or a degree and a diploma, and I was part of a golf academy. Let me just get this straight now. Yeah. And the dorm where we were at was only 6 guys, and the rest were all drama students and stuff like that. So we never really, you know, mingled with them and stuff. So it was just pretty much the 6 of us, and that was it. So I kind of just stayed in my room when I went home, and I actually studied, you know, and I did really, really well. First semester, I got 6 out of 7 distinctions, and again, putting up this big mask for my parents were so proud of me. And again, then Francois just sat back and laid back and did his own thing. I started drinking every night, literally every single night. My friends at this point in time didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore, because all I wanted to do was drink and get off my face and not care about anyone, do what I wanted to do. It actually got so bad that I was, after my first semester, coming towards the end of the year exams and stuff like that, I wasn't able to even write some of my exams. I mean, I was able, out of the 7, I was able to go write 2 exams, because the rest I'd failed. Didn't pitch up for class because I was always hungover. I didn't study, I didn't do anything like that. Even my golf became so bad that they wanted to kick me out of the golf academy. So, yeah, I pretty much at this point in time just drank my life away. And when my folks would phone me and say, how's things going, how's the exams going, I'd be sitting in Benoni somewhere, and I'm saying, no, I'm on my way to the exam now, you know, and I'm supposed to be studying in Pretoria. You know, I'd lie to my folks. I ended up sort of just hiding. I stayed away from any sort of contact with my folks. This was about 2 weeks after the exams, and my parents phoned me like, Francois, when are you coming home? When are you getting your results? So I'm like, no, I don't know, Mom. I don't know when the results get posted and stuff like that. And my mom said, okay, well, she's just going to renew my accommodation for next year. So I was like, okay, cool, Mom. That's awesome, you know. Lying through my fucking teeth again. Came out that my mom actually phoned this place and they said, sorry, but your son isn't even passing the year. Why do you want to, you know, get accommodation for him next year? And this actually completely broke my parents, like, you cannot believe. And I think it's for the first time maybe that I felt some sort of guilt, but I didn't really, because there was never really sort of any consequence to anything. You know, my dad came and fetched me from Joburg, and my consequences were driving in the car with him for 7 hours with him screaming his head off at me and hitting me a few times. When we got to Margate, it was fine, you know. Those were my consequences. The next consequences were, okay, well, Francois, what are you going to do for you now? You know, my parents would bail me out again, send me back up to Joburg, pay my flat again, fix my car up for me. There was never any sort of consequence, you know. And that's sort of how I lived my life, you know. And went up to Joburg, had to find a job, and because I still had passed some of my subjects from my 1 diploma, I was able to carry on. So I carried on studying through the PGA, and I ended up working. I ended up working in Krugersdorp at a golf club, and yeah, my drinking just didn't stop. I would just carry on drinking every single night. And my colleagues who I had worked with, I don't think they were alcoholics, but they really enjoyed to drink, so I'd go out drinking with them. And it sort of became a joke to see who would come to work the most hungover. You know, I kind of won every single day, and some days I just even wouldn't pitch to work. And yeah, I eventually got to a point in time where my boss fired me and I had to find another job, and I had to lie to my parents again because my parents were paying for my flat. My parents were sending me extra money because the salary I got at this point in time wasn't enough to cover all my expenses. Yeah, I ended up getting a new job, which was also in Joburg, in quite a lonely little golf estate. And this is where I was introduced to narcotics as well as on top of my drinking. And my narcotics that I was using, I could sort of help me to actually go to work at this point in time. So I would drink every single night, get off my face, and then I'd use drugs during the day just so I'd be able to focus at work and actually go to work, you know. And I was sort of this person. I was slacking. I didn't work hard. I didn't do what I needed to do. If something went wrong, I would lie about it. You know, my defects were just everywhere. I had no care. I had no worry about anyone, you know. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, and I had this thing of, I would always put up a good front, you know. I'd be so messed up inside, and at this point in time, I still didn't know why I was drinking so hectically, and I still didn't know why I was using so bad, because there was nothing wrong in my life. It was just about Francois not giving a shit about anyone, doing what I wanted to do. You know, in the big book it says self-will run wild. I mean, that's me to a T in those days. And I'd always put up this front, you know, I'd always shower, I'd always be neatly presented, I'd always shave, I'd always have a decent haircut, my nails would always be neat, I'd always have neat clothes on, and to my family and to the exterior people around me, there was never a problem because I'd look okay, you know. Anyway, I ended up getting caught using drugs at work and ended up getting fired. But at this point in time, I was also doing the booking for this company that I was working with. So I was doing like the accounts and stuff like that. And I picked up on fraud on behalf of the company and my boss. And I sort of kept that as my scapegoat. So when it came out that I was using drugs at work and I was coming to work drunk and stuff like that, that was my first card that I went to. I said, okay, well, you can't really do anything to me because I know you're jippoing the systems, you know. I ended up leaving there, getting 3 months salary, good references. I mean, I got a written out reference from my boss who I just manipulated and who I just blackmailed to go to another company, to look good at another company. You know, that was the type of person I was. Yeah, then ended up getting another job in Joburg again, and this is now I had four jobs in 3 years. Yeah, so I wasn't able to really keep a job at this point in time because of my drinking and my using. But funny enough, after I'd gotten fired and after I'd moved on, I sort of stopped. I didn't necessarily stop, but I never overexerted myself. I never drank myself into oblivion. I stopped using narcotics completely. But I found a new obsession, which was going to gym and going onto steroids and looking good, feeling good. You know, I became very, very arrogant. I started mistreating women again. I eventually got a new girlfriend at this point in time, and I fixed off this person like completely. She was my be-all, end-all. She made me feel good again. Yeah, carried on drinking. Yeah, at this point in time, anyway, no, I couldn't afford. My parents had cut me off at this point in time, so I couldn't afford my steroids. I couldn't afford to pay my rent and stuff like that at this point in time. I mean, I was earning a measly salary, so I ended up started stealing from work. I probably stole on average between 5,000 and 10,000 rand a month from work, and I never even got caught for that. Funny enough, actually, I was only stealing for about 3 months, but I was stealing consistently every single day, and because of my stealing, my boss had to retrench me because the company wasn't making enough money anymore. My boss wasn't able to pay my salary because I was stealing more money anyway. So I ended up getting retrenched from that. And poor pity for me, you know, I thought my life was a mess. You know, I thought the whole world was against me, and I never saw any of my bad behavior. I never saw me doing anything wrong. I started working at a nightclub, started doing bartending. I started working at a gay club, doing stripping and stuff like that. Not that I was ever gay or anything like that, but it was the only way I could find and make money. And this is also when I got introduced back into drugs again, back to my drug of choice, and drinking and partying. So I'd end up making a couple of thousand a night, and then I'd end up drinking it all away again anyway, not able to pay my rent, start stressing, drinking more. So at this point in time, eventually I found another job, a very good job. Got a great salary, was able to afford everything, was able to afford my own house. But I would lie to my parents. I'd phone my mom and say to my mom, listen, I can't survive. You know, I'm earning this crap salary, which I lied about, and my mom would pay my rent for me. And she did so for another year on top of that. Eventually, myself and my girlfriend at the time decided to move in together, and I ended up getting my own flat. So my mom was paying for my one flat, which was a year's lease, and I was paying for another flat on top of that, and I wasn't even living at that place, and I was lying to my parents, you know. But shortly after that, my girlfriend fell pregnant, and this sort of changed my life, you know. This became my it didn't become anything. I sort of realized, okay, cool, I'm going to become a father now, and I've got to stop my shit. And something in me, I stopped drinking every night, I stopped using for a little bit, and this lasted 3.5 months. She had a miscarriage, and it didn't go very well for me, because I'd sort of changed everything, and I changed my whole lifestyle, and I'd started gearing up to become a father. And you know, that all got taken away from me. And again, self-pity, poor pity for me. The whole world was against me, and I started using that as an excuse to start drinking again. And I started drinking hectically. I mean, I drank every single day. The pain that I had felt was for the first time in my life, in 23 years, that I had experienced pain like that. For my whole entire drinking career, I never experienced pain. I never had a reason to drink. For the first time, I had a reason to drink to numb the pain. And I sort of stopped using drugs because drugs stopped working for me. Drugs stopped stopped making me feel better about myself. All I wanted to do was to not feel anymore. And I would drink. And I would drink myself to sleep at night time, and I'd wake up and I'd drink myself to sleep again. Life was just, for me, it was just crazy. And at this point in time, my girlfriend and I, things just went pear-shaped, eh? I became very abusive, verbally, at this point in time. And towards the end of the relationship, I also became very physically abusive. Not by hitting her, but I'd pick up tables and I'd throw tables around the house and I'd throw stuff at her, and I'd really, really hurt her. And I don't know, I was so cooked that I thought by fixing my mess, it would be a good idea to propose to her. Oh, God. In all this chaos. And I get pissed at work the one day, and I go through to her house because she would move back with her mother at this point in time. And she was with friends, and I walked in there drunk, and I bought this ring, and I'd gotten down on one knee and I'd proposed to her, and I remember that's all that she wanted. She only wanted me to propose to her and to get married to me. Fuck, I don't know why. Sorry, I'm laughing at it now. I can't, she had to be sick as well to want to get married to me. And she like sort of picked me up, and she laughed, and she was like, no. I was like, okay, this is quite weird. Now this is all you wanted. And she told me to fuck off, and she went back inside, and I remember her laughing. She had two of her friends there, and her friends, I remember her friends saying, why is that douche here? You know, why is that arsehole here? And she just said something about, I don't know, she swore about me, and she's like, he thinks it's very fucking funny to come and propose to me after everything he's done to me. And they all laughed. And this was, for me, like, how can they laugh at that? This is the only thing that she's ever wanted from me, and now that I do it, now they laugh at me. Next day, I went back to her house. She invited me over for coffee, and she sort of like loved me again. You know, she came over to me and she started kissing me and stuff like that. And this is where I lost my shit. And I lost it so badly that I had pushed her around the house. I had broken the entire house down. I had smashed a 12,500 rand TV. I had ripped the bed sheets apart, all in like a drunk rage, because she had fucking laughed at me and said no to me. You know, this was the person I was. And in that point in time, I could see the pain in her. I was so drunk, and I couldn't even make sense of anything, but I could make sense of the pain that she was feeling, the tears that were coming out of her eyes. When I took a step closer to her, she would literally be so petrified of me, but she couldn't even speak to me, you know. And for the first time, I had felt something that I was doing, and I was hurting someone else. And this was about 3 or 4 weeks before I'd come into recovery and stuff like that. But that didn't change much. I mean, the most of it that I did was I just left her. And I started going out a lot. And with the company that I was working for, we did a lot of work at teasers. And sort of did their events and stuff like that. So I was spending every single night at a strip club and drinking free alcohol, getting free drugs. And, you know, my life was just, after seeing that pain that I'd given her, everything inside, I couldn't live with that anymore. Thoughts of suicide came about. I'd bought her a little pocket pistol for women. And I mean, I couldn't even fit my fingers into this thing. And I'd put this thing to the side of my head, and just to get rid of the pain. And I was too chicken shit to kill myself, because this gun shot little 2.22 bullets, and I was too scared if I shoot myself and I don't kill myself, I'm going to sit a vegetable for all my life. And that's the person who I was. So I'd go on, and the pain that I was feeling, I just couldn't numb it anymore at this point. I really, really couldn't. I was sleeping with strippers. I was sleeping with ex-girlfriends. I was sleeping with 3 or 4 different girls during a week. You know, I just didn't care about anything. I was drinking every single night. I wasn't going to work anymore. I just didn't want to be anymore. Just wanted the pain to end. It was like I said, the pain that I saw that I was giving someone else, I just could not live with that anymore. And nothing I did, the drinking didn't help anymore. The alcohol, nothing would just help anymore. And I remember I went out one night for a big bender, and I wanted to drink myself to death. And ended up waking up in my office chair the morning, a year ago pretty much. And with my boss looking at me and slapping me through the face, telling me to get up. But I'm sitting there in my jeans, my buttoned shirt, my bill for the night, my teaser's bills lying on the table, pissed, still drunk. I couldn't even speak to him. And he said to me, go home and shower and come back to work. And at this point in time, I realized that I couldn't do this anymore. It was just too much. And I said to him, I can't. I'm finished. And they said to me, Francois, just go home, take the day, and come back to work tomorrow. And this was at 6 o'clock in the morning. 6:15, I typed out my resignation letter with 2 fingers, spelling mistakes all over, and I left it on his desk, and I left. I'd just gone. I needed to do something else other than drink myself to death anymore, because the alcohol stopped working, the drugs stopped working. The pain I was feeling inside was always there. It would never go away. And I remember going down on my knees when I got to my car, opened my car door, and I sat there on my knees, and I said, please just help me, Lord God. Just do anything, but just don't send me to rehab. Please, just don't send me to rehab. Whatever you do, I'll take all the help I can get. Just relieve this pain. Just don't send me to rehab. And I picked up my phone, and I dialed my dad's number. And I don't know how, because I was in such a state. I was still so drunk from the night before. I don't even know how I was speaking. And I don't know what I had said to my dad. I just know that I needed help, and that I had wanted something. And long story, I mean, my dad was very shouted at me and wanted to kill me, obviously, because I'd come clean about everything that I had done over the phone. And my mom had actually driven up that day. And when I had spoken to my mom when she got there, she said the stuff that was coming out of my mouth, it was just like I was stone cold sober. And I was like and thinking back to that moment, when I did that, it wasn't me speaking, For the first time in my life, my higher power did for me what I couldn't do for myself, because the person I was at that point in time was too afraid to get help, I didn't want anything to do with anyone. I wanted to do this on my own. I wanted to be isolated. I wanted to just end my life. And God worked through me, and He did for me what I couldn't do, And that's when my whole rehab stint started. And coming into rehab, I didn't think I had a problem. I thought, yes, I was just drinking myself to death every day, using drugs, and I never saw that I had this problem. I never connected with any problems and stuff like that. It was only in treatment and my life story feedback that everything became clear to me. It became clear that I was the problem. I saw that I needed a God in my life, because for 24 years I never had a God in my life. There was always some sort of form of a God, but there was never a God that I knew would do for me what I couldn't do for myself, And rehab pretty much changed my life completely. I know for a fact myself, the alcoholic that I am, I wouldn't have been able to do it going into the rooms, because when I came into treatment, it was the first time I went to a meeting. It was the first time I had found out anything about NA or AA. I was completely oblivious to it outside. And 12-step program, I thought of this 12-step program when I got in there. I was like, it's a joke, who needs a program? I mean, I'm a human. I'm not a fucking computer. And it took me, I think, 1.5 months of treatment before it actually became apparent to me that I was the problem. It wasn't the drugs, it wasn't the alcohol, it wasn't anything like that I was the problem. I was the only person messing up my life. And life story feedback was painful. And I remember one of the counselors reading her feedback to me, and I had such a resentment towards her. I was so taken aback by the things that she had said, like the pathetic human being I am, and this snake in the grass, and the manipulator and a liar. And I was like, no, that's not me. Not a chance. Is that me? And it really took me a long time to work through that with my sponsor for me to realize. And I actually went to her and I said to her, thank you. Thank you for opening up my eyes to the piece of shit who I actually am. And I think that point in time, that's where everything changed for me, and that's where I was able to surrender all my stuff, and I was able to start working a program. Also, another thing coming into treatment is when I could first connect with someone else. I wasn't able to connect with any other person when I was using or drinking and stuff like that. I always thought it was just me feeling this pain. I never saw that there were other people out there dealing with the same shit I was dealing with. And that's why I can say this fellowship has really, really changed my life completely. To this day, I've still got my defects. I still do shit I shouldn't do. Okay, well, I suppose I better share on my relationship as well. Obviously, being in treatment, I was advised for the first year not to go into a relationship. And right out of treatment, first thing I do is get into a relationship with another addict in early recovery. And it has been the most difficult thing I've ever done in recovery. Finding a new job in recovery was alright. I struggled with it a bit, but my sponsor helped me out. Giving an honest relationship with my parents again has been easy. Everything I've done in recovery has been simple. Maybe it hasn't been easy, but it's been simple. It's follow the steps, and allow a higher power into my life, and it works. But being in a relationship with another addict, especially in early recovery, was the most difficult thing I've ever done. And I mean, it's caused me to almost relapse, and it's been really, really tough. And I've had to be honest about the stuff that's been going on, and working with all my relationship issues with my sponsor has been the only way. I now have to redo my step 4 and 5 just on my relationship for the last year, because I'm unable to manage my relationship, but I'm able to manage everything else in my life by using the program. But for some reason, I can't manage a relationship, and it's been risky waters for me, because I'm not only putting my recovery in danger, I'm putting another person's recovery in danger, and she's got kids as well. So it's been quite an eye-opening experience for me. But I am working through it, and I am doing it to the best of my ability, but it's definitely not easy, but I mean, AA and NA has given me a new life today. I've got relationships with friends, I've got honest friends. Maybe my friends I don't like all the time because they call me out on my defects and stuff like that, tell me when I'm acting out and being a douchebag. But those are the friends that I need in my life today, because those are my real friends. The friends that, if I'm being an arsehole, don't say anything to me like that and allow me to be an arsehole. They're not really my friends, because they don't love me enough to help me. And that's what I found in the rooms, is honest love. And that's been one of the most amazing experiences for me. I've now got a relationship with my parents, like I said. In active, I would only speak to my parents when I needed something. Now I speak to my mom on a daily basis. I mean, my mom calls me on a daily basis. My mom's proud of the person who I am today. I've got an honest relationship with her. I don't lie to her anymore. I still fuck up. Yeah, I do. I mean, my life in recovery isn't perfect, but I can own my stuff now. I don't have to lie about it anymore. I don't have to lie without having a freaking reason to lie. I can be honest and say, yes, Mom, I did stuff that up, or yes, Dad, I did crash my car. But I mean, I'm now able to, I've got a job now, a good job. I'm able to pay my own rent, I'm able to pay my own car. I've got debt with my parents that I'm busy paying off. I pay my cell phone, I pay my medical aid, and it's not easy. Trust you, it's not easy. Living life in recovery hasn't been an easy experience for me, but it's been simple, because if you apply the 12-step program in my daily life just works. It just really just works, and that's pretty much been my experience. I've got times when I don't speak to my sponsor and my recovery sort of dwindles, and then 2-3 weeks later I phone him and I open up and I say, this is actually what's been going on, and he says to me, well, I've been waiting for this call for quite some time now, and I've been expecting it, and he helps me along again, and I get back onto the right path. And that's been pretty much it. Just sharing my experiences and helping other addicts has also been quite a big one for me. And I don't even know where to go now. I'm just rambling away here. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to end it there, and then I'll just say thanks for letting me share.